During this time of quarantine, it's easy to really get up here in our minds, which will take us on a spiral of fear, where we feel worry, where we are concerned about lack and not having enough, and when we might start actually obsessing and thinking of all the doom and gloom that could occur. There's an alternative to this, and that is using this time to get into our heart, our soul, our intuition. Our intuition is where creativity, innovation, and healing can come from, not just for ourselves, but for the world, for anyone we serve. And so right now I'm inviting you into my spiritual practice. Every Sunday I pull an oracle card to help set the tone for the week. It gives me some context to look at everything through. And it feels like it's some guidance from above and from my own intuition to know how I can proceed to bring out that innovation and creativity and healing. So this week, I'll share with you what we are working on. And it's a biggie, but it's a big change maker. And so here it is. The card this week is forgiveness. You know, I'll tell a little truth about myself. I grew up predominantly in the Catholic religion, which is teachings of Jesus. And I learned all through Catholic school mostly about sin and hell. It's quite a fear-based religion from my experience of it most of the time. And it's only really been as I've become a grown-ass adult that I've started to understand who Jesus really was and what he really taught. And he taught about forgiveness. So it took me a lot of work to understand what forgiveness is because I wasn't taught how to practice it. In fact, I come from Sicilian roots, and Sicilians are known for the mafia, and really, like, that's all about vengeance, which is the opposite of forgiveness. So if you don't know what forgiveness is, at least you know what the opposite is, which is revenge. Forgiveness, and well, you know, if we're not murdering people, which I'd imagine we're not, how can vengeance or revenge actually look in today's world? It's cutting people out of your life. I've done my share of that. It's even just in a moment like that, like curt, you know, I'm cutting you off. Like, I can throw daggers pretty well at people and energetically, and they will feel my wrath, even though I don't say anything. And sometimes I say something. But that's what it looks like when we're in a state of non-forgiveness. And right now, if you're living with someone in particular and you're in close quarters, forgiveness is a super important tool because you need to do a lot of it right now because people are going to get on your nerves. So hopefully what you're going to learn about forgiveness today will help you. If you're living alone right now and you're in your own quarters, you may actually be stewing about some people who have wronged you. Like, that's definitely something that can happen when you're spending time alone. So in any event, forgiveness is a great topic for all of us in this moment. There's a book that I read years ago that broke my world open on the topic of forgiveness, and it's called Radical Forgiveness. The author is Colin Tipping. And if you want to get a taste of what radical forgiveness is, I really suggest you can download free, basically the introduction to this book, which is called Jill's Story. And it talks about what really is radical forgiveness, the idea that people come into our lives, the people that hurt us the most, they actually have a soul agreement with us to take action that will cause us pain, and that is to help with our soul healing. Radical, right? And Jill's Story, that is the introduction to this book, you can download it free online, just Google Radical Forgiveness, Jill's Story, will explain to you what this idea means of radical forgiveness. And I've applied that in life to the most severe transgressions, the people who I felt created major betrayals, and it really is a magical way to get over those really severe transgressions. But the truth is, in life we have medium-sized transgressions and small transgressions. So how do you deal with those? One of the tools I want to offer is prayer. Prayer is really great for, there's one type of prayer that I prescribe clients often, and it's called a prayer for guidance. Basically, when we have a desire to shift something within ourselves, to shift how we see something, to shift how we experience something, because we feel so right and this is just how it is, a prayer for guidance is magic. It works with your intuition. So when you ask for, dear God, I am angry and resentful at this person, fill in their name. I desire to release those feelings. I don't know how. I'm open to be forgiving. Please guide me. That's simple. Put that in your own words. Just say what the problem is and what you're asking for, and just that you're willing. Amen. And what happens in a prayer for guidance when you do that is your intuition, basically your internal systems where you receive guidance. You might have a thought, you might hear something, you might see something visually. Something might happen in the universe where you read something in a book, or you have a conversation with somebody. An answer comes that will change your perspective, that will give you basically whatever information you need to start moving forward. I did one of these prayers recently, and it was really cool. Basically what happened was I just said a prayer like, dear God, please help me see what I don't see so I can open my heart and forgive. And I had literally an interaction with a person within like 20 minutes that helped me see some blockage in myself that was making that other relationship like I had a wall up. And I just thought it was the other person. I was like, oh, okay, that's my stuff, which is always what we want to see. We want to be able to see our own selves in whatever is going on in our lives, because we can't change other people. And really, let's understand basically why do we forgive. It's great in the situations where you can create peace between you and that other. We're not going to get into that today. The most important thing, the primary and first reason to forgive, is so that you can create peace inside yourself. And forgiveness is a big word. It can feel intimidating. So I read once in this beautiful set of spiritual affirmation cards, forgiveness is too big of a word for you. Try other words. And the one that stuck with me was the phrase, letting go. So forgiveness is just letting go. This thing happened. I feel sad about it. I feel angry about it, whatever. I'm letting it go. This morning in my meditation, I worked on forgiveness, and I was very happy to pull the card after. I was like, okay, yep, that's what we're going to work on this week, more of this. But in my meditation this morning, this person came to mind that I have had some feelings of anger and frustration around. And I've been wanting to forgive, and I've been saying prayers asking for guidance on forgiveness. And in my meditation, I truly had this beautiful moment of letting go. So letting go and forgiveness in and of itself, it doesn't necessarily happen on command, right? You don't just say, I forgive this person, done. Now you can say the prayers, you can say affirmations, but it really is a ripening process. You actually let go and forgive in the right time. And so another really key tool I want to share that will help you with forgiveness is the idea of the stages of grief. So if the person you want to forgive, actually what occurred between the two of you is grief, like that you're feeling grief, like the end of a relationship or the loss or the betrayal or whatever stirred that up, and you're actually grieving. Grieving means you feel deep pain in a loss. Recently I discovered, most of us have probably heard of the 5 stages of grieving, but I actually recently discovered an article on the 7 stages, and they're way better because they show you at stage, I believe it's stage 4. Stage 4 is called the upward turn. So you actually see like, oh my gosh, it's shock, it's sadness and depression and it's anger, like these difficult feelings, but then there's an upward turn. And then we go through these stages where we get to acceptance, which is really where we can start to let go. And if you understand that that's what grief looks like, that it is this not necessarily logical or linear process, but you move through all these different feelings, but there is a turning point. Like you hit a point where you're like, okay, it's starting to move away from being in that anger and that sadness, and I'm starting to have an upward turn here. That's when you start to be able to let go. But it's a process that you want to be conscious of. And so you say the prayers. When I say a forgiveness prayer, often, I'm literally on my knees for that one. That's such a humbling thing for me because the ego does not want to forgive. Okay, the ego is that part of us that sees us as separate and right, and we want to make that other person wrong. And so to me, the ultimate act of humility is getting on my knees and praying to God, dear God, please help me forgive this person. I'm so angry and resentful. Show me how. So that's a recommendation too. If you're in that, if you can't shake it, it's a process. Get on your knees, say the prayer, and just, say what's true. Say what's true. That's a really important part of praying. The more you feel the truth of it, you can air out like how angry you are, and please God, just give me an inch today, a little relief. Amen. So forgiveness is our practice this week. You might make a list. Sometimes I've asked clients, so I feel like forgiveness is definitely a big topic because you're carrying stuff around. We sometimes do. I say create what I call a shit list. Who's on your shit list? Who are people that you feel wronged you, and you might get some relief from letting go? This is a great time to do that, by the way. As I was sharing, I had a sense of forgiveness in a meditation this morning of something I'd been carrying around, and it allows you to feel so much lighter and so much more joyful, because energetically, when we're in anger and resentment, we are in lower energy, we are in heavy energy, and what we want, where the creativity and flow and magic in life happens, is when we're in that higher vibration, when we're in more states of at least optimism or neutrality. If we can get up to joy, amazing. So this will make a difference in your creativity, your ideas around work and how to serve people and what to do in these changing times. So it's valuable. It's a valuable investment to make time to forgive. I'm telling you, it's valuable. You will. It's like, they say cleaning out a closet or something like that, and all of a sudden you're more productive. This is like cleaning out your soul. Can't recommend it enough. So if you have any questions on forgiveness, feel free to reach out. I'm going to complete us with a quote from the book Radical Forgiveness that felt really relevant to our time. It links forgiveness to health. We used to think of health as the absence of disease. Now we think of it in terms of how well our life force, our prana, our chi, flows through our bodies. For optimum health, this life force must be able to flow freely. We cannot be healthy if our bodies are clogged with the energy of resentment, anger, sadness, guilt, and grief. Let it go, my friends. May you be at peace. See you next time.